What's up, everybody? This is a beautiful day in Jacksonville, Arkansas, and I'm here at the Static Aircraft Display Field here at Little Rock Air Force Base here in Jacksonville, Arkansas. But before we get into this, I wanted to say that I wanted to dedicate today's episode of Keeping History on Two Wheels to the 9 airmen from Puerto Rico whose C130 went down just the other day in Savannah, Georgia. They are the 156th Military Airlift Wing, and they are the sister wing to the 165th there in Savannah, which is where I'm a firefighter. So we work hand in hand with those same crews from both air wings. So I would like to dedicate today's show to them. Now, let's roll that beautiful footage. Okay, so what a static aircraft display field is where they take aircraft, both old and new, and put them on static display for you and I to see. And Little Rock Air Force Base probably has one of the nicest aircraft static display fields that I've ever seen. The aircraft are in exquisite condition, and they are on loan, actually, most of them, from the military museum. So these aircraft can be given back to the museum at any time, or swapped out for other aircraft. So seeing that we are dedicating today's episode to the 9 airmen from the 156th Airlift Wing, I thought that it would be more appropriate to start out with the type of aircraft that they were in, a C130 Hercules. This particular C130 is what they consider a Model E C130. Now, it was delivered to the Air Force in 1962. The current training C130 that the 165th uses for the fire department is a 1953 A model. So they've been in production since 1953 at least. Actually, they've probably been in production about a year or two ahead of that, before any were actually given to the Air Force. But these things have been a workhorse and a mainstay of the Air Force since the 1950s. Now this aircraft is a C123 Egg, and it's a transport aircraft. But check this out. This was in the Air Force during the 1950s, early 50s, around 52, 53 year. And That's a freaking rotary air engine. That's a rotary engine. That's a Pratt & Whitney R2000 rotary engine. And how long has it been since we used rotary engines? And you want to talk about a mix of modern day and old time? That's a freaking jet engine. Yeah, so you got a rotary engine over here and a jet engine over here. And that's on both wings. That's just weird. But this thing is 76 feet long, and it started out with the Alaskan military up there, you know, the Alaskan Guard and etc. And they were using it for transport planes up there. It's pretty cool, actually. I'd like to see more of those type flying. You know, cargo craft that are that small and compact and that versatile. This aircraft is also known as the Hustler. It's a T58. It was brought into service in 1959. This particular one was, and it was brought into the Air Force service, or accepted by the Air Force, in 1959. This big cylinder here housed a nuclear warhead along with extra fuel tanks, and it could be jettisoned after the mission, and it could roll into a more aggressive stance on evasion and etc. It was never used as a fighter. As a matter of fact, it held a three-man cockpit, so it was more like a bomber, which its first role was as a nuclear deterrent. Okay, it was used to basically be the strong hand to keep nuclear war from even happening. The second was in a reconnaissance configuration, where they would mount cameras all over it and send it out to do recon work.
I know we'll see this through.
You can ask any Vietnam vet in the world what their favorite sound was in Vietnam, and it will always be the thump of a Huey. That meant support was coming in and or recovery was coming in. I have never ridden on a Blackhawk, but I have ridden on a Huey. They have been around since before Vietnam, and they were still in service in the 80s when I first came into the service. You want to talk about a ride that will make you sick? Try a midnight ride in a Huey at treetop level. It'll make you throw up. That's still my favorite helicopter though. This is the B57E Stratojet. It was brought into the service of the Air Force in 1951, and it ended operations in 1957. So they were only built for 6 years. But during that 6 years, they built 1,200 of these things and put them out. They were put into service with the Strategic Air Command, you know, the guys who fly the B-52s and etc., B-1 bombers and B-2 bombers. This one belonged to them. And if you'll notice, those engines, those are the same ones that go on a B-52, only the B-52 has 4. And so they're pretty badass little airplanes. Now this little jewel is the C119 flying boxcar. It was built from 1947 to 1955, and it was originally designed to be a cargo aircraft and also a litter aircraft for medevacs. And the last time it saw service was in Vietnam, when they converted them to AC-119s, also called Stingers, and they were the predecessor to the AC-130s, which we're still using today. They had side-mounted weapons on them, and they were pretty badass for the time. They're a lot smaller than the C-130, so it was harder to hit with anything less than a surface-to-air missile, and they're pretty cool. I like the twin booms in the back.
I know we'll see this through.
Now this aircraft is the C-47 Skytrain, and its maiden flight was just 2 weeks after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. By the end of World War II, over 15,000 of these things had been built, and they had been used for island hopping, just cargo shipments back and forth, running supplies and etc. from island to island for the troops. But after the war, what do you do when you've got 15,000 of these bad boys? You sell them to the American businesses such as Delta, Eastern, and Western, which were just starting up. Now they convert them to passenger airlines and run them out of, let's say Miami to New York and etc. Which they were the mainstay for a long time until all the airlines started going with jets. Now, of course, when the airlines purchased them, they changed the designation from a C-47, of course, to a DC-3. And a little story about that. In 1983 and 84, I worked for Peachtree City Police Department in Peachtree City, Georgia, just about 28 miles outside of Atlanta. And in the middle of the night one night, we had one of these bad boys land out at Falcon Field. And the occupants just left the airplane. Left it sitting out at the end of the runway and disappeared. It was a little odd. It was riddled with bullet holes, and the bomb bay doors still worked, and the bomb bay doors were open whenever we found it. Would lead you to believe that maybe drug runners purchased it and was using it to run drugs, and how it ended up at Falcon Field is anybody's business. But yep, in the middle of the night, one of these bad boys landed out there. We didn't really know what to do with it. That was pretty cool though. I know this thing looks like an F4 Phantom in a way, but it's really not. It's a RC101 Voodoo. Its main job was reconnaissance. It could be configured into a fighter, but its main job was the reconnaissance configuration. It would hold cameras in the nose and underneath, and it did a pretty good job. I think the U2 kind of took its place. But anyway, the Voodoo. Now this bird is a B57 Canberra, and it was actually originally designed as a bomber, and it was brought into the service in the Air Force in 1955, where it quickly became just a trainer. Then in 1957 it was rolled over to the Air National Guard, where it became a reconnaissance plane. Most of the Canberras did, and they saw very little actual bombing raids, but they did a ton of reconnaissance. And during the Vietnam War, Canberras, yep, they were used for intelligence to try and find out the night movements and locations of enemy forces. And they're credited with 98, get that, 98% of battlefield intelligence.